Hello and welcome to PM Personality Profile. My name is Nana Ansakwa IV, Chief of the Holy Republic within the Republic, Akwamo Edumasa. Here I am to do something I love doing. One of my favorite aspects of my whole television is having the audacity to take my cameras into people's spaces and further have audacity to ask questions where ordinarily you wouldn't have asked. But as I keep saying that, I am grateful that people of our kin and kind open up to us, share their experiences, share their defining moments, so that we at home, those who may not, have the opportunity of meeting such people, would also hear, take a seed from their life stories, either sad or happy, triumphs or failures. We learn from it and shape our lives as we grow up, because clearly, in growing up, it's all about facing challenges. The day you wake up and you have absolutely nothing to face or any sort of problems to solve, know that you've woken up in a coffin. Otherwise, you definitely have a challenge, even to get up and go to use the bathroom. So, in human life, it's all about facing challenges. And in solving these challenges, there's nothing on this earth that hasn't happened before. So you hear other people's and you shape your life. And I'm here to talk to one such a fine gentleman. Well, military man by family trained. He didn't join the army, but his whole family is, from a barracks boy. He's a pastor, an educationist, an accountant. However, you would say he's a philanthropist and a politician. So we're here to find out what would shape one's life to have such a background and yet end up as a politician and a philanthropist. These are the beautiful moments of personality profile. Folks, when I come back, I'm talking to Ambassador Horace Ankrah. Don't you go away. Well, thank you very much for staying, and this is definitely our favorite time, and it is always courteous and polite to say thank you for agreeing to the interview and for allowing us to your office.
Nana, it's my pleasure.
Great.
You're most welcome to our humble office.
Thank you. But, I am curious. Boy, military-trained boy from the family. Not because you went to the barracks, but you come from a military background, so definitely there's that regimental discipline. You have an accounting background and pastoral. And so then one will want to find out how it is you ended up in philanthropy and politics.
Well, thank you. Nana, I grew up in Kumasi, and then I was in Tech Primary. And one of the things that I do remember when I was in Tech Primary was us joining boys from Wiwiso Primary.
What was it in Choni? What's primary?
What is it now? Is it JHS?
Oh yeah, JHS.
Or JSS.
Okay.
We in Tech Primary finished at around 2:30. And that was when you have the first batch of Wiwiso boys also going on their break. Because in those days, they ran the shift system. And I quite remember that those days, we would join boys from Wiwiso Primary, go up the hill at Aija. Around 2:30, the train would come, stop. And as the train leaves, what we did was to run after the train and then be pulling out sugarcane. That was those days, bad boysism. And I would pull out some sugarcane. And then we from Tech Primary were just enjoying that.
The adventure.
Yes, the adventure. But then I realized that those from Wiwiso Primary, or JSS then, or now, actually would have the sugarcane as though somebody was having his or her lunch. And then I realized that there is some form of disparity between kids attending Tech Primary and those in Wiwiso. So out there, obviously, that is life. So from that point, I had searched my heart. And actually,
So while you were pulling sugarcane as adventure, they were pulling for their lunch?
yes. So I was thinking is that life? Differences, but then from the same kind of country or same people, differences. So from that point in my life, although I was that young, from that point in my life, I realized that what you have actually is not yours, but to give to others or to bless others with what you have.
Wow.
So from that point, I have realized that if somebody was attending Wiwiso and I have yam and stew to eat, then I have to share with the one from Wiwiso to also have yam and stew to eat as lunch or for lunch. So that has been something that really changed my life since those days, and I've carried on as such.
Wow. So, well, you did your university in the UK.
Yeah.
And you carried the same passion of trying to get equity with you, even though you were in the UK. Because there's much more equity, even though you still have disparity, there's much more equity. So in a system like UK, how would this passion fit in and how did you do it?
Well, when I was in the UK, I realized that it was basically the same thing. Kids attending private schools, that is independent schools, were that serious attending school. And some kids in state schools would just sort of like loiter around doing nothing. Although in the UK, national identification is that up there, so obviously they knew where everybody was. But then we still had people who were just walking around the streets doing nothing. And I said to myself that why don't you just gather these kids and let them come to your house every Saturday? We eat, and then I teach them English and maths. So I sort of like gathered the Ghanaian kids, the Caribbean kids. They were coming into my home. We eat, and then I'll teach them English and maths. Encourage them to be attending school. And I realized that it was growing by the day. At a point, I think I was actually having about 400 children.
Whoa.
Yes, about 400 children that we were managing every Saturday, that we were teaching English and maths free of charge. We did that, and then we raised the bar into like higher levels where I had children who are looking forward to better their grades in GCSEs come to me, and then we do the same exercise. It grew up, and then eventually what happened was that the authority heard about what I was doing. So they said to me, look, why don't we get children come to you, and then you can prepare them for them to sit their GCSEs, those who are wayward. So, okay. So they were coming to my place. We eventually got a bigger space and stuff like that. We were preparing these kids for GCSEs. And then we realized that, oh, hold on. Before you could actually get them sit GCSEs, you have to be registered with the examination bodies. We did that, and I ended up being the first Ghanaian to set up an independent school.
Wow.
So it went from us just...
What was it called? The Horace Ankrah International?
No. Inzo Academy of London and Surrey.
Inzo,
NZO. Anything that I did was Inzo. Like we went on to set up, a driving school that would teach the Ghanaian kid and the Caribbean kid how to drive properly, free of charge. So we did all these things free of charge, and getting people into school, getting people to do stuff that they have to do properly. And we ended up having our own independent school, which obviously helped myself pecuniary-wise, and then other families. So we thank God.
Wow. Have you maintained the school or have you closed it up?
We've maintained a section of the school. But when I decided to actually go into politics, read politics, I realized that I needed to get rid of a section of it just to get into politics. And I don't know whether it was a good decision then, but today I can say that it was a bad decision that I took.
Oh dear.
Not getting into politics, but getting rid of that aspect of
school.
Yeah.
You think you should have handed it over to someone, or?
I think the best thing that I could have done was just leave the people who were running it to run it. I was thinking that, or listening to people to saying that, oh, Horace, you're doing fine and stuff like that. So I was thinking that without me, nothing would operate properly. So I sort of like shut a section down. But then, like my dad said, if you are away and you think that something could not be done, then you've not set it up properly. But we did set it up properly, but I was thinking that I was the heartbeat of the whole outfit. So leaving the UK to come down to Ghana to actually practice politics the more and help the Ghanaian child the more, I left that side, and I should have kept it.
Who knows? Maybe it's not late.
Yeah, it isn't late, but I think that not necessarily you being in the UK to enhance somebody's life. You could do that from Ghana. You could do that from anywhere at all. And I'm happy that in Ghana, I basically do the same thing, because I do drive around town, stop at a school, ask who the head is, and I'll say to them that I feel like teaching. So who are you? Oh, my name is Horace Ankrah. I feel like teaching maths. And I've been doing that. In fact, I think I taught some maths yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which school?
I don't go to schools. I don't even take down the names. But there's so many independent schools around this area. Unfortunately, when you come down to this particular what do you call it, La Paz and Tuom and that sort of areas, we don't have public schools, too many public schools, which is a shame, because I believe that a school is for the community. And publicly, we don't have that kind of schools in these areas. So most of the schools that I do go to are independent schools. And I enjoy doing that.
Okay, let me ask you one difficult question, because you are the chairman of the NDC in UK.
UK and Ireland.
UK and Ireland, you're the chairman. I mean, there are predominantly two big parties, it's either MPP or NDC. They're the two main boys. I want to find out how come you went to NDC and not MPP? It's a very unfair question, but probably has a simple answer.
It has a simple answer. Well, with the NDC being a social democratic party is all about the people and enhancing lives. And at that point, when I joined the NDC, I actually admired President Rawlings's style of leadership, awareness and making sure that people do the right things and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. In fact, having that military background, I've always enjoyed seeing a military man as the leader. And one of my favorites, actually, General Kutu Echampong, who unfortunately Ghanaians don't. History
has been very wicked towards him.
Very, very wicked towards General Echampong. Yeah. We never mention about Operation Feed Yourself. Nobody mentions the fact that he superintended the country over changing from left to right or right to left, whatever it is. And a whole lot.
Yes, a whole lot. I can give you a whole rundown.
Dansoman, then being the biggest estate, police hospital. I mean, a whole lot that we're not giving the former head of state the credit for. But I think that he did a lot for this country. So with that sort of military background and his style of leadership, I was looking at former President Rawlings as somebody who I wouldn't mind sort of like joining wherever he was or is at the moment. And I've not regretted. I think looking at the NDC now as, to me, the biggest political party, the most successful political party in the country because they've won 3 elections. the most democratic. I mean, we have the numbers, and for me, they've contributed to the lives of Ghanaians to a certain level that we should always appreciate. Having said that, I know that the MPP also have certain kind of colors that would could be identified with my style of thinking. But at the end of the day, I believe that those two political parties are parties that have actually contributed to where Ghana is now.
But I mean, in all fairness, are there any differences in ideology? Because I mean, it's the same roads there. You construct 10 kilometers, I come and continue. You start a hospital, I come and roof it. You build a foundation, I continue. Are there any differences in ideology? Real differences?
Well, differences on paper, but I mean, if we go down the line, practically we realize that, well, the MPP is a party that is always claiming that we actually bring social interventions, which for me, it is yet to be defined properly. And then the MPP, whose ideology is more capitalist, yeah? But then we, the NDC, who are social democrats, I think we sort of like do stuff that are more capitalist. So it tells you that ideologies are now shelved. They are shelved, and if you are practicing democracy, it's all about making sure that you are enhancing the lives of the people. So for me, we've gotten to a point where ideologies, I believe that there's no point looking at it and drawing lines. We've come to a point where we have to actually look. If we are practicing democracy, it's all about enhancing the life of the Ghanaian. So if the NDC does A and MPP is doing B, fair enough. Once it's enhancing lives, that is what we need in this country.
Fair enough. You came to Ghana and to throw your hat in the mix of politics and try to make a change. And through that, you became deputy ambassador for China.
Yeah.
Now, normally I want to go into your personal, but because of your political and activism in governance, I want to dig a bit more into that. Now, first of all, I want to find out what was your first culture shock going into China, coming from Ghana, living in the UK, Ghana, and now boom, deputy ambassador China.
Oh, first culture shock. China or the Chinese. One thing that I really noticed about the Chinese that actually took me aback was the way the Chinese spit indiscriminately. They don't really care where they are, but then you find the Chinese spit. And I said, oh, my days. And seriously, I would go into a restaurant and, or after an official duty, what I do is, Charlie, eat your food quickly. And I was like, I wasn't very diplomatic in my eating because I really want to eat quickly so that I don't see somebody spit. You understand? So I was doing that. But Nana, on a more serious note, one thing that I realized that I admired was their timekeeping. And for me, timekeeping is very, very important in any aspect of your life because time is something that you can't regain. You can't draw. I mean, you simply have to keep to time, and whatever you have to do, you have to do that. I realized that if I went into a meeting 30 seconds late, I'm embarrassed.
Wow. Everybody's
set. 30 seconds late into a meeting, everybody's set. So with the Chinese, timekeeping is something that I realized and I admired. So there was the shock and there was the shocker and then the
shock and awe. Shock and awareness. Did it do you think that their timekeeping has contributed to what it is they are doing now or where they are now?
Well, timekeeping is part of it, but I think the Chinese actually realized or identified at a point. Yeah, you know the CPC was formed in 1921, and I think was it in 2002 or something like that. It was all about them realizing where they actually want to take the country to, where we actually want this country to get to, and what will make the Chinese live a good life. So I think that the identification of, or the realization of where they want to take the country actually spurred them on. We believe in Mao Zedong, yeah? We believe in what he was saying, that, look, Marxists, let's do this in this way, socialism with the Chinese characteristics, i.e., whatever they have chosen, they are going to enhance it by making sure that they sort of like marry it to the Chinese culture. So they became unique. And it's taken them just 40 years to get to where they are, because economically, socially, politically, they chose where they want to go, and then they've been doing that. So I think that, yes, apart from timekeeping, they knew where they want to get to. Ghana could have done the same thing. Choose a leader, believe in what the leader said or what the leader was for, and then we say to ourselves that this is where we want to get to in education, in security, the economy. And I think that maybe we would have gotten to a place where by this time we'll say that we're better than maybe the Chinese.
Well, I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, since you've tasted Chinese politics and governance and you are in Ghana politics and governance, it's only fair that I ask that are we on the right path? Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying, and I'm talking to Ambassador H.E Horace Ankrah. Nice name.
But do you know that Horace means time?
No.
Yeah, Horace means time. So I don't joke with time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Horace means time.
Do you think that we will ever adapt the essence of time within our Ghanaian culture? Is it possible? Because we don't respect time that much.
I don't think we respect time that much. And I hope and pray that we'll have that sort of like change in culture, as in making sure that we adhere to time. You will go to certain offices and you'll be surprised. There's one institution in this country that I always hope and pray that they work to time. And I have the hope that one day, we'll have that sense of timekeeping. I'm very sure it will come, but it's taken us too long.
To realize. Back to my question as to you giving us a fine example of China, that they had a leader. Leader came up with a vision. They all bought into it.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll say that, so they were ready to bite their bullet. And I mean, they had the bitter bullet to bite in terms of even regulating population. Look, everybody was limited to one child, and they had really brutal policies put in place. People had to pay for a second child. We were taxed.
Yeah.
And so they bit that bullet for China to be China today. Looking at Ghana, do you think we are ready to bite?
Yes, we should be ready to bite. Certainly we should be ready to bite. But it was easy for China to do that because of the system that operates in China. In democracy, there's too much talk. And China, one-party state, and they have the belief in the CPC, still have the belief in the CPC. And so for whatever they want to do, it's like, look, it is for the good of the people, and the people easily buy into it. A good example that I can give you is that in China, let's say the parliament, they meet once a year, decide on what they want to do throughout the year or 5 years down the line, and everybody goes to his or her province.
Go implement.
Yes, but in a democratic dispensation, you have MPs coming down from wherever, and they are there, and it's every day, here, and there, and stuff like that. So it is the system. It is very difficult for you to get to your destination in a democratic dispensation than what the Chinese are practicing. Now, in Africa and in Ghana, to say, political parties don't work hard enough to stay in power for a very long time. You see, so it's like we have the notion of you being there for 4 years, you're out, you being there for 8 years, you're out, and stuff like that. So it is like Party A gets to that point and Party B doesn't like it, so Party B is not even going to continue with whatever Party A started, and then they come to start whatever they want to start. Now, you can't build a nation that way. But then, if we have our political parties work very hard and stay in power for a very long time, I think that programs and whatever they set themselves to do in their manifesto will be achieved. So it's very easy to achieve certain things in China, unlike we are achieving in Ghana. But I believe that if one day we should have a leader who is ready to change the psyche of the Ghanaian, we will certainly get to our destination.
Will the system allow the leader to do that?
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because we practice democracy, yeah. But then at the same time, if you have the power that there is, in Ghana, we've given a whole lot of powers to the president. And I think that if we have a leader that is going to say to his or herself that, hey, forget it, it's in the confines of what the, the Constitution is saying. So I'm definitely going to be doing this, yes. Go ahead and do it. If it's in education, where are we getting to? Where do we want to get to in education? What target? What have we achieved at this point or that point? You understand? And I'm using education as an example because for me, I believe that although we are practicing democracy, but then we are not consulting enough. So everything is like haphazard, and it's getting us involved in ad hoc decisions in so many spheres of the Ghanaian life.
Let me divert and bring you back, because I know you're a pastor. You preach. Where did that come in? You seem to be a man of many. Where did the preaching come in? An accountant, educationist, a politician. You're a preacher.
Yeah, I love preaching. I love sharing the word of God. And
at which point in your life did that come in? Was there a defining moment?
Well, one day I was in church, and I said to myself that, yes, I hear what you're saying, but you're not being practical. You understand? You're not being practical because I witnessed a situation where the pastor in the sermon was actually telling us about what he has, the riches that he has and stuff like that. So I said to myself that, no, this guy is not being practical. Now, then a pastor approached me at one point in time in the UK and said, Horace, is it possible you help us get a place to worship? Mm-hmm. I said, oh yeah, why not? There was a time that I dreamt that I had built a church, so why not? So I helped them get a space for them to be having their church. And then one Saturday, he said to me that, oh, we'd love you to come say something. So I said to myself, oh, what can I go say? And then I said to myself that, oh, I know what you say. Why do people in the UK borrow money to buy the shirts that they want to wear, i.e. the use of credit cards? Mm-hmm. You want to buy a shirt, save the money and buy a shirt and wear. So I actually preached on making sure that you save towards what you want, but not borrow to get a simple thing like a shirt and blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it was so practical. 3 weeks down the line, the guy asked me to come preach again. I went in there and testimonies. Oh, the last time that this guy was here, I stopped using my credit card and I'm better off. Blah, 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 blah. So I said to myself, oh, this is nice. The guy enjoyed it. Each time he would invite me, And I was following the Noel Jones and all that kind of preachers, watching them on telly, picking up some of their messages. I'll go in there practically, wow the people, and then tell them what they really have to do in practical terms. And eventually, I married the practicality of our daily lives with the Word of God, and I got better and better. And I think I can feel, what's the biggest church? I think I can feel the church. I can feel the church.
You know, with your deep, you seem to be a natural born teacher. You have this passion to bring equity and balance and fairness in society. You know, you're dying to teach and to lead. And so I was just going to say that, are you not more a pastor philanthropist rather than a politician philanthropist?
Oh, I think I'm both. I'm both in the sense that I've come to also realize that you can actually enhance the Ghanaian through politics. It's simple. Think about the service, not the position.
I didn't. If I had ended my question, the reason why I say that is because of your. Because I've followed you for some time, and I see that there's this hunger in you, there's this burning frustration in you. Since politics has been tagged as a dirty game, are you swaying towards politics rather than look? Let me just stay in the church and try and convert these guys.
I don't think politics is a dirty game. I mean, we have very sincere individuals practicing politics. And I see it as another way of making sure that you help society or the country as a whole to get to where the country wants to get to. I also see politics as a platform where you get people to know the truth, speak the truth to power. A country like Ghana, I ask myself, why do politicians say what they want to say to the poll, i.e. what will sweeten the years of Ghanaians just to elect them into office, but not to speak the truth? So I also see it as a platform where you can actually get a nation united by just telling them the truth. And for me, that is the kind of politics that I practice. And so I believe that it's all about enhancing the Ghanaian. That is what I believe democracy is all about. I mean, I don't see why the Ghanaian will have to walk 6 kilometers before get to school. That is not democracy. I don't see why in the 21st century the Ghanaian will have to pay for cotton wool. I don't see why the Ghanaian will have to pay for simple gloves in the hospital. I don't see why in the 21st century the Ghanaian gets physiotherapy and has to pay for that. 21st century the Ghanaian gets on an ambulance and will have to pay for it. Are you getting what I'm trying to say here? And so for me, I see politics as something that, if God should permit, and I live longer, the opportunity will come for us to come to the realization that no, we are shortchanging the Ghanaian. We are shortchanging the Ghanaian.
You're speaking like President Horace in the near future.
Well, I'm not necessarily speaking like President Horace in the near future. I'm just speaking as a Ghanaian who has that thing in me that the Ghanaian has been shortchanged. Seriously. I mean, I'm not a rich man, but I say to myself, why is the Ghanaian being paid something like 700 Ghana cedis because he's a security? 700 cedis. The Gaman will say, Mene Cafe. Are you getting me? The 21st century. 21st century. So when we are talking about democracy, how far would I travel before I get to a hospital? How far would I travel before I get to a bus stop? You understand? How far would I travel down the line in my own community before I get to a school? They are too far away. So this is not democracy. We are not enhancing the Ghanaian. We speak to the poll, and then the electorate will say, oh, great, let's vote Kwashi into office because he's promised me that, he's promised me that, he's promised me that. But the Ghanaian hasn't got the opportunity to actually ask questions. What sweets his ears or her ears is what he or she is going to order. That is what is going to influence what he or she is going to do at the poll. And then for me, it hurts. It hurts.
Well, Horace, you're very, as far as exposure is concerned, I think you tick all the boxes. You're very well exposed, very grounded in politics. And I know you're pro-JM. And so then my question would be, after all your background, exposure and everything, the common question on everybody's lips is that since he was so heavily rejected, why are you maybe forcing him down the throat of voters again? Since he was that heavily rejected.
Yes, I know that the pattern that Ghanaians follow is that they don't vote for, they vote against. So what actually happened was that Ghanaians voted against President Mahama without asking questions. Now, voting against President Mahama in 2016 doesn't mean that Ghanaians actually voted for President Nana Akufo-Addo, if I may say so. Because the pattern is that I have realized that the Ghanaian actually will vote against, but not for. Now, the reason why I support President Mahama and will support him to actually win the flag bearership of the party and go on to win the national elections is so simple. It's because of the do's and don'ts of the current government that has actually vindicated President Mahama. And I use only 3 points. Now, corruption is one of the things that we all hate. And a place in China, it is not entertained at all. Now, one of the things that was said was about the Ameri deal. Yeah? And the renegotiation of the Ameri deal and whatever happened to it will tell the people of Ghana that, hey, at the end of the day, President Mahama was doing the right thing. Otherwise, the Minister for Energy wouldn't have been sacked. 2, the distress in our economy. Yeah, the distress in our economy. And then thirdly, there are too many ad hoc decisions concerning the free SHS. Too many ad hoc decisions. And for me, you realize that it is still being implemented progressively. We are saying that you can have free education and have free boarding. Boarding should be charged and stuff like that. It's all over the place. So these 3 points actually tells me that President Mahama has been vindicated. Now, lastly, the reason why I support him is that for what he achieved infrastructure-wise, he, in 2016, could have promised the Ghanaian heaven. He did not do that. And that is what I believe in. Speak truth to power. Don't speak to the poor. So for me, these are the simple reasons why I will always be on his side to making sure that the Ghanaian life is enhanced.
Big question in a short time before I take a break is corruption has become our way of life. I mean, is there any leader who can boldly say, look, I'll stop corruption? It's just us. We drink it, we eat it, we breathe it, and we just like to speak against it, but we really cannot act upon it.
Exactly. It's a tough call, and it will need a seriously tough leader. And I believe that as a people, we shouldn't accept it that it has become part of us. I mean, I think that the corrupt should be punished. I mean, I give you an example of China. I mean, the corrupt is so punished that it's so unbelievable. You know that in China, yeah, there's this thing that they practice. For example, Nana, you're my cousin or my brother, yeah, and you were so corrupt, and you are serving your jail term of 10 years, and unfortunately, you served about 3 years. You died. You're gone, yeah. They have to replace you with somebody. It's as simple as ABC. So the family itself will make sure that you do no wrong.
Because you don't know who's going to be
Exactly.
replaced.
No, at the end of the day, no, me mom so Marcos
Horace, you look very well built. You can do the 7. You can go and continue the 7.
You get my point. So, I mean,
but is that like the law?
Oh, seriously? I mean, I can tell you something that you wouldn't even believe. How much money do we as Ghanaians spend to say we're going tree planting? In China, if you want to fell 2 trees, you apply, yeah? You are given the permit to do that, but then you show government where you are going to plant 2 trees. We spent a whole lot of money, yeah? Millions. And the formation of agencies is the pregnancy of what? Corruption. So we get monies and we say, oh, we're going tree planting. You know what they were doing to us, diplomats? Put us in a bus and then we go tree planting because we don't pay tax. I have planted so many trees in China. But nobody, seriously, but nobody has actually motivated me or said to me that, hey, this very day we're getting all, what do you call them, former appointees go plant trees. When you go to tech.
And it's a fun day out, I guess.
Exactly. When you go to tech, you would find trees planted by us from Tech Primary, yeah, led by then Vice Chancellor R.P. Bafo. You understand? And that is what we have to do. It bonds the nation. It bonds us. I'll tell you this story if we have time.
Should I take a break and come back? And then when I come back, I'll hear this story in detail. But I can really imagining my brother, going to jail, a 10-year service, dying after 3 years, and then there's a knock on my door early in the morning. Unfortunately, your brother won't, Wow, we're coming straight back. Well, thank you very much for staying. And you see, that's the reason, that's the beauty about personality profile. People sharing their lifetime experiences, their ups, their downs, the exposures they gathered in life so that we can also tap into it. And Horace, you're back home now.
Yeah.
And I've asked you, and I'm going to ask you again. Maybe, if we are on the right path, if not, what are some of the things that we can spot and see that, yep, for A, B, C, D, we are good, or for X, Y, Z, we are not good?
Thank you, Nana. I think that as a country, we're doing our best to get to our destination, a destination that's in every aspect. I don't think is well defined, whether it's in education, economy, whatever. I don't think it is well defined, but I'm certain that we will get there. This mentality of Rome was not built in a day, I believe that has been shelved. Globally, the whole world is that close together now. So whatever we want to do, yes, we can quickly do that sincerely. And we can get that by us telling the truth or speak the truth to power and making sure that political parties work so hard, stay in power for a long time, and implement programs. Now, asking whether Ghana is on the right path. Nana, I don't even look too far. When I'm driving to the office, I look at life in areas like La Paz or what do you call it, Nyamiche Junction, coming to the Qatar hostel and stuff like that. And I see the Ghanaian hustling every morning, every afternoon, at night, midnight, selling on the pavement. What are they selling? Second-hand goods, second-hand mics, simple things that are not even manufactured here, but brought down from China, Singapore, UK, and stuff like that. Take a drive and study the life around La Paz, Abeka La Paz, and you realize that economically, socially, the country is actually going back. The Ghanaian life is not actually being enhanced in any way. Ask yourself, is there a well-run public school around La Paz? No. Is there a well-run hospital around La Paz? No. Is there a well-run public transport going through La Paz? No. Are you getting me? It tells you where the country is going. We're doing our best, but I think that we can actually do more. And like I listed so many things that I want to see that in the 21st century, the Ghanaian is enhanced by that. It's like, hey, let us stop paying for gloves. Let us stop paying for cotton wool. Let us stop paying. The Ghanaian should not pay for, physiotherapy. How can somebody who is paid tax over a certain period of time go to the hospital and then pay for blood test? Why are you taking 350 or 400 Ghana cedis from the Ghanaian just for blood test? 21st century? No, ask yourself. In the first place, how much is the person earning? But then the argument is that, the person is not going to go down the line each time to do what? Have a blood test, but the person is being paid monthly. Hey, forget that. Put other things in the equation, and you realize that at any point in time that this individual who has been paying tax goes to the hospital, he or she has nothing on him or her to pay for what? A blood test. So for me, I think that we're doing our best as a nation to get to our destination, which for me is not defined, but we can do more.
Your assistant, little bird in the grapevine, tells me you're always writing. I want to find out what you write and why.
Oh, I love writing. I love writing. I always want to write and ask questions. Recently I was here writing, and the question I was asking myself is that if the churches really want to enhance Ghanaians, in terms of education, what should they do? The churches are doing fine. They are into education now, but what are they offering? The status quo. Accountancy, business management, name them. No church is actually looking at the vocational aspect, the technical aspect, to actually let the Ghanaian know that it is actually the first step of being a professional. You understand? Mm-hmm. So recently, that was what I was trying to analyze, write about it and stuff like that. The second thing that I've been writing on is pension reforms. The Ghanaian is sent home too early, 60 years. It's causing traffic jam. 15% of pensioners, so strong, sit at home. They wouldn't sit at home. They sit in their cars and they'll be driving around. Yes, you will not believe it, but it's part of the, what do you call it?
They're bored in the house.
I think that has to change. That has to change. 60 years, the Ghanaian is being sent home too early. Mm-hmm. What we can do is up our game on life expectancy, and then if we up the game on that, we'll be healthy enough to be working into our 65s and early 70s. And then that will reduce the tension on the public pension fund. Mm-hmm. And when it reduces the pressure on the pension fund, it gives the Treasury more money. And if the Treasury has more money, the Treasury has nothing else to do but enhance the Ghanaian life, and will not even go for loans, but because we have money. But then the argument will be that what about the young folks? Broaden the base of the economy, i.e. more vocational training, more technical training, instead of our churches who are doing fine, go into universities and offering the status quo. Change. Yeah, let's see more of the technical training and the vocational stuff.
I sense you're a believer in skills training.
That is what will actually enhance the country. You understand? I went into a university in China, and the whole university is based on what the city needs. Can you believe that? So the guys who were studying already had a job. We need that, we need underground system, blah, blah, blah. And that was what was being done at the university. So, I think that the churches will also have to look at that.
Final big question. What would it take for Ghana to realize that, look, stop, take a different turn? Because the path we are taking, even if it's right, it's too slow. What would it take?
What will take is going to be bigger than you think. Change the psyche of the Ghanaian. And anytime that you want to change the psyche of a people, it's so difficult. It will be very difficult to change the psyche of the Ghanaian at the moment. But then we might get a leader who would say to his or herself, look, this is what I believe in, and this is where I want to take the country. And just change our mindset and we follow him or her. Can I also ask you a question?
Yes. First time, but yes.
Tell me the Ghanaian leader that you can actually identify a philosophy with.
Achampo.
Achampo?
I'm a strong Achamponist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a strong Achamponist. I think he was a doer.
Good. So, if some of the things that he actually wanted to implement, we had followed them, do you think we would have been in a better place?
I think it's unfair to take Nkrumah to us. So let me say Nkrumah and Achampo. Let me say Nkrumah and Achampo.
All that I'm saying is that we missed it, but it's not late. Could we have believed in Kwame Nkrumah and then take what Kwame Nkrumah stood for and say, yes, this is where we want to actually direct the country? Could we have believed in Achampo and say, yes, let's feed ourselves and feed our industries? Could we have believed in Rawlings and say to ourselves that, look, this is the awareness that I'm bringing to you, Ghanaians, yeah? Love thy neighbor as thyself? Or are we going to believe in President Kufuor, who is a real capitalist? Or are we going to look at President Mahama and say to ourselves that, look, where we want to get to is all about infrastructure and the truth. So if we identify leaders with what this stood for or stands for, I think that, and take it up collectively, we'll get to our destination.
But what was your word? To be grateful, you have to be.
Oh.
What's the phrase?
Oh, I always say that for you to be great, you have to be grateful. And that is one of the reasons why I support President Mahama. For you to be great, you have to be grateful. Folks, I'll end on that beautiful note. The number is 024 366 2001. 024 366 2001. Tantees, they make my shirts for the show. Give them a call, get yourself a nice Ghana-made shirt. I want to say thank you so much to Ambassador Horace for his time. And until I come back to you with a different personality, have a beautiful, beautiful week.